It wasn't the Dodgers who won it all last year. No, it was our division rival Chicago Cubs, representing the NL in the World Series and ultimately winning it all. At 80-54, they looked primed to be one of the favorites again. But after winning the title, did the Cubs sit on their hands and be happy with the result? No, they went out and signed a 99 overall starting pitcher in Tarek Skubal here, who has been dominant as of late. He has recently come off an injury, hasn't been able to play the full season, yet Chicago has still been very good. And we face off against him today. Our first look at the biggest free agent signing in all of baseball, let alone our division. On the mound for us will be Alec Marsh, our ace, posting a 4.03 ERA and a 1.29 whip so far for us this year. Before we hop into the gameplay, I just quickly have to stop and shout out my brand new channel members here. Thank you to Aiden, Stames, Primo Skux, and Taharka for becoming brand new members on the channel. It means the world to me, and I hope you enjoy the members-only content. Now let's go beat the Cubs. Leading off for the Cubs is Alex Bregman, who will draw the walk. Not an easy out by any means, leading off this Chicago order. And that'll bring up Michael Busch. 281 on the season so far from him. And that's going to be cut sharply out to left field. Sajazi all the way to the wall to reach it. And just like that, 2 batters up and now 2 in scoring position. The Cubs excited about this start. That'll bring up Pete Crow Armstrong, one of the best in baseball, up to a 95 overall. Insane speed and defense. And he's got a pretty good bat to boot, which has him at the 3 spot in this lineup. It's going to be out over to Mason Wynn, but unable to get 2 there, and it does bring home the first Chicago run. Not going to do this for every player, but they're 2 studs at 3 and 4 in the order. Worth at least showing you an update of what they look like after about a year and a half of development. Seiya Suzuki, an outfielder with a really well-rounded bat there, but not going to show it off. Here is the entirety of this World Series Chicago order. Luis Garcia, 2 gone and a man in scoring position. 243 on the year. It's a broken bat out to Melendez, and from foul territory, he whips it across the diamond. 4 out, number 3. We do allow 1 run, but it could have been worse. Leading off for the Cardinals today will be J.J. Weatherhold. It's typically Mason Wynn. I think there was a minor injury that may have had the CPU shaking up my lineup. They didn't do anything too drastic with it, but Wynn and JJ will be flipped today over their normal order. And JJ starts with a ground out. It has been quite a bit of time in season since we last checked on the stats, so there are the averages for our team. 394 slugging as a squad. Not particularly impressive, but look at those 23 home runs so far from Mason Wynn. We will be finishing Season 2 today, so we'll see if he can reach 30. That would be double his previous career high, but he flies out there. So 2 up, 2 down, but Melendez in a great battle. And the payoff pitch is outside the zone, so he will walk his way over to first. The first to reach for the Cardinals here. Tim Elko, 232, not the highest average, but he has been hitting for power, and that's going to get down in the left center field gap. Rosarena will give chase. Looking to come home, and we do score the tying run here, an RBI double. Seems like every time we see Tim Elko up at the plate, he's driving in a run. I've been very impressed with his performance so far this year. Brian Ramos, 260, 18 home runs on the year. Make it 19 now. crushed this to center field. 443 feet. What a start for the Cardinals. Wow. Going against one of the very best in baseball. But we've got the early advantage here. A 3-run first inning against Skubal with the Rule 5 lineup. You can't ask for a better start. So Jay-Z up next here. That's going to not get down in front of left field there. So that will be the end of a very impressive inning. Will the early Cardinals runs result in a confidence boost from Marsh? Starts the inning off well, getting a rise out looking. Very talented contact hitter. Carson Kelly goes down looking as well. Can we strike out the side? That would be a great rebound inning from Marsh after allowing a run in the first. And Arozarena not going to strike out the side, but still a nice clean inning from our ace. Speaking of aces, though, I think now is a good time to talk about Vinnie Nunes, who we, of course, drafted last episode. One of the biggest questions whenever you draft a generational player is going to be, what is the timeline in terms of bringing him up to the big leagues? If you are familiar with my channel, you will know that typically I wait a little bit longer than maybe some. When bringing prospects up, I like to ensure that they'll be ready to produce well at the MLB level, not wanting to impact their ratings. But in the case of Vinny here, unlike with most generational hitters, I think his game is well suited to have good early impact. And my plan with him is probably to invite him to spring training. Unlike when we invited JJ last year to spring training, I don't think I'm inviting him with the expectation that he'll pretty much guaranteed to be on the opening day roster, but I want to give him a chance because those ratings are in a really good spot. Other than home runs per 9 being a little low, which of course is slightly concerning, I think he's got some great per 9s. And once we add a pitch mix, I think he'll be ready to go. But it will have to be a pretty strong spring for him to skip the minors altogether. Either way, though, I don't think the wait will be very long for Vinny at all. Another thing about Nunes here, as Alec Marsh is into a little bit of a bind here in the fourth, is that 3-pitch mix with Vinny. I appreciate the feedback I got in terms of adding another pitch. It seems like most are in agreement that he deserves one. So I will be adding some sort of curveball to that pitch mix. I don't know exactly which one yet. It will kind of depend on what his arm slot ends up being. But for an 18-year-old generational prospect, I think a fourth pitch makes a ton of sense. So we'll be doing that. I did get some suggestions about maybe making other edits as well. Maybe he should be taller or throw harder. Ultimately, I don't think those kind of edits will really be needed. I think he's a great player already, and his incredibly high stamina could be the thing that sets him apart and makes him seem more generational. So I'm very excited. I was originally planning on having 2 more episodes at the end of this season. That's probably why you're seeing a very long episode compared to what I usually run. It was going to be 2, but I just can't wait to get Vinny on the squad, and I wanted to stream that spring training that I am planning on inviting him to this weekend. So that is the update on Vinnie Nunes here. Into the 6th now. Alec Marsh still has only allowed that 1 run that he did back in the first inning. Since then has been pretty money. It hasn't been perfect. He got out of that 4th inning jam, but it looks like he might be in another tough spot here in the 6th as Pete Crow Armstrong makes it to a board, and that's actually going to end the day for Alec here. Trying to maintain that narrow lead. All the scoring so far in this game has been from the first inning. Otherwise, the Aces have been very good. Skubal had that great second inning striking us out, but otherwise it just forced a lot of soft contact. Our offense has been pretty much non-existent since that first inning. And the Cubs trying to come back here. JJ will flip it to Mason Wynn, and we'll get the 4-6-3 double play as Zephyrjan enters the game. You saw his numbers when he first came out. They're not very good, but we don't really have better alternatives in our bullpen right now. Y'all saw the bullpen game from a couple episodes ago. Our bullpen isn't where it needs to be right now, but not that I would expect it to be, with it being full of Rule 5 draft picks. Garcia flies out to Sajazi over in left field, and another inning where it looked like it might be dicey for a minute, but we get out of it clean. In comes Yariel Rodriguez here to pitch for us, one of our best relief pitchers. He'll face Luis Ariz here in the 7th inning, and he's ahead 0-2. That one's going to get him swiping. Not the prettiest day from Ariz. He's struck out a couple of times now. Next up comes Carson Kelly, hitting in that 7 spot, and he's down swinging. 2 up, 2 down via punch out for Rodriguez. Looking pretty good. Can he make it 3 for 3? Payoff pitch is in there for strike 3. Arozarena goes down looking, and Rodriguez strikes out the side. Bottom of the 7th now. Yanquiel Fernandez chops it, and it's off the glove of second base. So we get a 2-out single from the right fielder here. Can this spark a little bit of a rally? Can we increase that lead? Like I said, our offense has been pretty much dead since that first inning. I think we've only had 1 hit since then before that Fernandez single. We follow it up with another one, though, from Christian Robinson, the bottom of our order. Doing some decent work here. 2 on, but Bernal has not been having a good season. You see there the 194 average. Really tough stuff from our catcher, who is definitely more defensively oriented. He actually got a pretty good piece of this, but it won't find its way down. Caught deep in left field by Arozarena, so despite finally seeing some signs of life from the offense, no runs added to our lead. Top of the 8th now, Nick Sandlin comes in for St. Louis and allows the leadoff single to Dansby Swanson, the Cubs shortstop here. Hoping to build some momentum on the other side as the top of the order. It's back up. Bregman 0 for 2 today, and doesn't agree with that strike call. He will win the challenge, and it's going to get him a free base. Matt Shaw, pinch runner there. Michael Bush. 2 on, no outs in the inning. And the Cubs take the lead with a 3-run blast from Michael Bush. Sandlin gets shelled here in the 8th. We had done so well. 6 scoreless innings in a row. But finally, just couldn't hold the Cubs back any longer. You knew we were probably going to give up something at some point. You just were hoping it wouldn't be 3 runs all at once. 404 feet. That's going to end the day here for Sandlin. Not a very impressive outing. In comes Luis Guerrero to go against Pete Crow Armstrong. Gets him looking for strike 3. First out here of the inning. Chicago now looking to build on its first lead since the first inning. And diving, Weatherholt won't get to it. So Seiya Suzuki will reach on a 1-out single. Garcia up next. This one is grounded through the middle of our infield. JJ was nowhere near it, and that's going to be out at third base. Christian Robinson, what a throw. I'm a little surprised. He tried it. Robinson's got a solid arm, and he definitely beat the runner there. Great job getting the out. This one is popped up very high. And JJ settles underneath for the third and final out. But now some pressure on a Cardinals offense that hasn't been able to really get anything going since that very hot start to the game. Only 5 hits total. Palencia will come in for the Cubs to pitch. No Matt Swanson, who is their highest rated reliever, the guy we traded to them, or really gifted to them last year. JJ from the one spot will reach another one off the glove over there at second base. Not the most impressive hits, but considering how dormant our offense is, we'll take anything we can get. Mason Wynn, please drop fair. It will, and it's over the wall for an automatic double. That would have scored JJ had it stayed in the park. So close to an RBI double probably, if not even a triple for Wynn, but we'll take our star shortstop contributing here in a major way. Ivan Melendez, an unfortunate strikeout, though, to follow. A swing and a miss on that one. And we're going to get an intentional walk of Tim Elko. He's just too clutch. Also, they wanted the opportunity for a force out at any base, but we'll say it's just because he's clutch. But it's Brian Ramos who's homered in this game. You know what's better than 1 home run? 2 home runs. Let's get it. 1 out. He's just going to bunt it, trying to avoid the double play, and the Cubs won't even go for it. A successful sacrifice bunt will bring home the tying run. It's 4 apiece now. So the top of our order has done what they needed to tie us back up. Palencia will get replaced here. And now they'll bring in Matt Swanson to go against the Jay-Z. Full count, 2 outs, and 2 on. So Jay-Z will draw the walk. Load him up once more. Who's it for? It's for Yanquiel Fernandez. Not the best season, 6 homers, 630 OPS. He's had a couple of clutch opportunities that we've watched. Now's the time to produce. Only hitting 200 with runners in scoring position, not great. And fouls that one off. It's going to have him behind 0-2 in the count. Not the place you want to be. Swanson trying to get out of this, and it's chopped to short. Swanson with the accurate throw. And we'll have to settle for the tie there. Swanson does what needed to be done for Chicago. Full count for Carson Kelly. That is lifted to left, right to Sajazi, who easily gloves it. Randy Arozarena, he's 1 for 3 so far today. Another full count. These are not easy outs for Guerrero here. First walk allowed by him. Up to 34 pitches already. Chopped to Melendez. Will only get the one. But a good throw there. Gets out number 2. And the Cubs have the go-ahead run in scoring position. Oscar Mota will make a change for us. In comes Pedro Avila, our closer. Trying to finish this game off for the Cardinals. Keep it tied so that any swing of the bat could be a walk-off. Matt Shaw, the leadoff hitter, has not been great with runners in scoring position this year. 257 overall, and we get ahead 0-2 in the count. Good pitching here from Avila, but you gotta finish it off. In comes the 0-2 pitch, and it's in the dirt. Got Shaw chasing. The throw is on target, and we're tied heading into the bottom of the 9th inning. And it's the bottom of our order. We will be guaranteed to at least get JJ if the bottom of the order can't finish us off, and it's not going to be Christian Robinson. He grounds it over to first. That'll bring up Leonardo Bernal. Can he be the hero? 0-0 pitch. He's certainly swinging at it. Going against former Cardinal Matt Swanson. This one is crushed. Leonardo Bernal walks us off with a 423-foot blast. Wow! The most unlikely of heroes here gives us a win against the defending champion, Chicago Cubs, celebrating with his teammates. You gotta love moments like this. Been such a difficult offensive season for Bernal. But man, what a moment for our catcher. Walking off the champs, the division rivals. We led for most of this ball game. That 3-run homer put things in doubt, but ultimately the Cardinals come out on top. All right, let's hop into a critical situation here. Haven't done that really much because we've been going pretty quickly. Probably going to do that a lot more starting next year. Again, we will be ending the season here today. But it's always nice to give players more opportunities to show up in big moments. And the best way to do that, in my opinion, when you're going at a pace that I go in these series, is to hop into some critical moments. And Pedro Avila trying to finish off the Cubs here. We're up by 1, 6-5, 2 gone. The top of the 9th, the Cubs fighting for their lives, and it's Matt Shaw who has 2 hits today, and looking at strike 3. Wow. We're going to start a 3-game series 2-0, which means we're going to beat the champs. Not a lot of victories to point to so far on the season, so we'll take getting this series win over Chicago. All right, how about one more critical situation here? Lars Nootbaar, extra innings, 2 gone. Former Cardinal, now trying to contribute to a loss for the Cardinals, trying to beat us. Successful challenge by Bernal makes it a 0-1 count for Moreno here, but allows the single for Nootbaar, which gives Cincinnati the go-ahead run. Some pressure on our offense now to deliver once more, but Cincinnati not done quite yet, but now they are with the force out to second. 2 gone, runners on the corners for Santiago Espinal. He is playing in place of an injured J.J. Weatherholt. It's grounded to second. Don't worry, the J.J. Weatherholt injury is like a 3 or 4 day one, but really would have loved to have J.J. at the plate for that clutch opportunity. Espinal, also another player not having a good year at all. And we lose it in extras to the Reds thanks to an RBI single from Lars Nupa. We have reached the month of September, which means it is time to talk call-ups for the final stretch of the season. And I think the first guy that's going to get the opportunity is Yorangelo Saintje. Over a 4 ERA is not great. It's really the last 10 starts have not been great for him. He has had better stats than this for the majority of this season, but looks like he had a really rough start here that has pulled his numbers down. But ultimately, looking at the player card, he's still gone up 3 overall this year. He still had pretty dang good production for the majority of the year. The ratings are in a good spot, and I think they're in a spot where he can be competitive at the big league level. He's the highest rated pitcher on the team, and he's going to get his first shot at the MLB level. Switch pitching stud Yorangelo Saintje. Welcome to the big leagues. As for the hitter to be called up, I thought about just bringing back up one of our Rule 5 draft picks, but there's one outfielder that I think is worthy of a call-up for September here, and that's Nelson Velasquez. I did look at guys like Jordan Walker and Joshua Baez, but ultimately I think Nelson Velasquez has played the best this year overall. 287 average, 17 home runs at the AAA level this year, and OPS over 800, which is easily the best between all the potential outfield prospects. We haven't had any of our outfielders, particularly our corner outfielders, make much of an impact on the season. They haven't really impressed me, so I'm going to give Nelson Velasquez the chance to do so here. He is not a very good fielder at all, but hits for better power than what we have in the outfield right now. And, you know, he's got the power versus righties, but the contact versus lefties. I kind of like that balance. Got really good plate discipline at his 69. Nice. And a good arm for the outfield as well. So I am intrigued with giving the 28-year-old a chance. This will not be his MLB debut. He last played in 2024 for Kansas City, but it will be his debut here for the series. Probably the MLB debut I was most looking forward to from the year one roster. Yeah, I know we have J.J. Weatherholt, but a switch pitcher is just so fun and rare. I knew J.J.'s was going to come soon. I just didn't know how long it would take for Saintje to get his chance. And it's here at the end of Season 2, Episode 11. Elly De La Cruz will be the first batter he ever faces. Gonna pitch lefty against him. That's the nice thing is Elly's not nearly as good against left-handed pitching, and he's gonna go down swinging. First Major League strikeout comes against the very talented infielder Tyler Stevenson, batting second, and he'll go down looking. Back-to-back punch-outs to start your career. Not bad at all. What can we do with Jones? Can we punch out the side? No, he's going to get solid contact on the ball, but it's lifted to left field. Easily handled. 3 up, 3 down to begin your career. Noelvi Marte hitting in the 4 spot for the Reds, and he's gonna get that one down in the outfield. There's Velasquez giving chase. Not the best fielder. I don't know if it really mattered on that occasion. That was going to be a hit regardless, but that'll bring up Robbie Brennan. He has been drafted by the Reds in this franchise. Always nice to see early draft contributors, and there he's picking up an RBI. Very strong first inning from Senja, but it doesn't take much longer afterwards to allow his first run. That one's chopped. Can we go 2, 4, 6, and 3 double play out of the second inning for the Cardinals here. Plays so nice, you got to see it twice. Who doesn't love seeing the double play? Can we get some run support here? Not yet. Still nothing doing for the Cardinals offense. And that is blasted by Sal Stewart. It's a leadoff homer in the third inning. Man, things were looking really good after the first inning, but things have been slowly deteriorating since for Yorangelo Senja here. Can he salvage this for a quality start? It's another hard hit. This time it's Victor Scott, another former Cardinal on this Reds team. The double will be his 11th of the season. Well struck to right field. Top of the order back up for Cincinnati. De La Cruz with an RBI opportunity. That sharply hits through that infield gap. The throw from Sajazi is offline, and it will not be an RBI, but it puts runners on the corners with no outs still. That one's stopped by Melendez, but he can't glove it cleanly, and he can't get the out either. 3 Cincinnati runs now. That's a chopper over to Mason Wynn. The throw is on time for the double play, but it's just beaten out by Marte. So a fielder's choice instead. 1-2 pitch is over to Wynn. He just flips it with the glove to get the force out at second. 3 Cincy runs through 3 innings now. Back up is Robbie Brennan. I just like it when there are drafted players that are looking really solid. So here's a quick look at his ratings. Not a fielder at all, but pretty well-rounded offensive skill set on the first baseman. A switch hitter as well. So a fun pick by Cincy, already contributing here at the major league level. And he is back aboard with a 2-0 single. To kick off the 4th inning here, Spencer Steer next up in this Cincinnati order. That's hit right to Elko. The 3-6-3 double play is completed. Nice job by those two. A couple of our best hitters so far this year. We will be going over full stats at the end of today's episode once we're concluded with the gameplay, but no runs allowed there in the 4th. Hadn't done that since the 1st, so perhaps things trending back in the right direction, but a leadoff single to kick off the 5th. Victor Scott is now 2 for 2. Ellie gets this one through that right center field gap. It gets all the way to the wall. Might bring home yet another Cincy run. It will. It's an RBI double for Ellie De La Cruz. Senja got his first strikeout of his career against him, but since then, Ellie's been doing pretty well. And that's going to be the end of the debut for Senja. Probably not what he was hoping for. Still, though, I think you just, if you forget about every inning after the first, he did at least show us some reasons to be excited, and I, of course, remain very high on the future of Yorangelo St. The switch pitching alone gives him a very, very long leash in my book. All right, I can't end Season 2 without checking in on Oliver Davis one more time. 280 on the year for Oliver Davis, very respectable. We'll see what it ends up at the end of the year, but we're getting very near that point now, and that's going to drop into the outfield, and he gets a double out of that. All right. Seems pretty impressed with himself there. That's not maybe as well struck as your typical double, but a double is a double. Top of the second inning here, 2 gone and a man on first. It's Jesus Baez. 136 hits for Oliver Davis. Has been the everyday third baseman for the entirety of the year here at AA. We've gotten some pretty good boosts to his ratings. We'll check those once we're done with the gameplay as well. Pitch number 33 for Walter Ford here is lifted out to left field and snagged. All right. Looks like they're telling us he's grounded into 11 double plays here. That's not a good omen. Don't be putting that on me. And safe at third. The wild pitch will advance and erase the opportunity for a double play. So there's that. Can Oliver Davis bring home a couple of runs? Sacrifice fly also in play here to extend the lead, but we want more than that. You know, we haven't seen an Oliver Davis home run yet. Now would be a great time to see his first, and not going to happen here, but he beans it right off the pitcher. Out at first, but it will bring home a run. Back up top of the sixth, the Springfield AA squad now leads 6-0. Nearly swung himself out of his shoes on that one. 1 for 3 today with a double. And that's going to have him reach once more. It's a multi-hit day for Oliver Davis here.
Now batting.
Top of the 8th. Let's keep going here. Arkansas has finally gotten their first run aboard. Nobody on the base pass for Oliver Davis this time around. Going against a lefty in Finley Solis? I don't know. He's not my player, so I don't care. But he's getting ahead of Oliver Davis. 1-2 here. That one is into the outfield for an out. So 2 for 5 for Oliver Davis in this one. Not bad. Also drove in a run. Can't complain about that, but man, I kind of want to see a homer. Let's go a couple more games, see if we can't see one here. Later on, as you could see there briefly for a moment, he has 16 so far this year. Was maybe open for a little bit more than that, but not bad at all. As he'll kick off this second game with a grounder over to third. And swinging at the first pitch. This one's deep and foul. Oh no, that was so close. Had the distance, just didn't have the angle. I really wanted to see that home run celebration. I haven't gotten to see it yet. We'll have plenty of time. He's going to hit a bunch of homers in this series and got another well-hit ball there that just won't quite be enough. Swinging through that first pitch here. Once again, going up against the lefty. He's been pretty good against lefties. He's gotten more development there on the power front. Higher ratings. So more potential, and struck hard but foul. 1-2 is the count here. Trying to avoid a hitless day, and man, tough one to swing at there in the dirt. He gets one more chance, though, to avoid the hitless day. Back up top of the 9th. This game is mostly over, but he does have an RBI opportunity as well with 2 runners aboard. The final out of the game most likely for Springfield. And that's going to be down for a single. Will it bring home a run? Yes, it will. An RBI single for Oliver Davis. So, one more game, one more chance at seeing him hit a home run here. Going against Teddy McGraw this time around. That is past the glove of third base. Back to the wall. Will he go for 2? No, he'll stay up first. Certainly struck hard enough to be a double, but we'll have to settle for just the 1. So we're seeing him put good contact on so far in the episode. Decent amount of hits, just none of them quite for power. He's driving in runs. Overall, it's looking less and less likely by the minute that we'll see his first home run. Or at least watched home run. Of course, like I said, he has 16 on the year. Why not? Let's get a Jason Petit at bat here at the end. The bases are loaded. He's got like no power, but maybe we could see a grand slam. He's not particularly great at hitting against right-handed pitching for the time being. Much better against lefties, both for contact and power. But it hasn't hurt his numbers so far this year. 831 total OPS. We'll take that all day.
That's a ball.
312 average. Again, we'll see the final numbers here in just a moment, as this will be our final gameplay of the year. But that is just foul. Count runs to 1-2. Petit pops it up.
Infield fly rule in effect.
Infield fly. Unable to come up with anything here.
Ball.
All right. Possibly the final at-bat of Season 2 that we're going to watch. Let's end it on a strong note, Oliver. His strong hitting today has gotten his average from 280 up to 283. He's actually one of the few players that produces when we watch him in the minors, which is only good news for when he does eventually make his MLB debut. I have no idea when that's going to be. The fielding still has a long way to go here. The 2-2 pitch is by him, a swing and a miss. Woof. Not exactly the strongest finishing note of Season 2. But still, I think we got a lot of fun moments in today at the Major League and at the Double-A level. Showing hope both for our now and especially for the future. That's going to bring us to the end of the minor league season here. Our Double-A team was good enough to make the postseason, so we might see a tiny bit more of development from these players, but starting with Oliver Davis, who is now up to a 73 overall, a +5 this year. +4 to contact versus right, +3 against left. He got +4 to his vision and +3 to his clutch. We see a +3 to power versus right and a +8 against power versus lefties. But what we really wanted to see was the fielding. +6 there this year is crucial, and he's getting +5s and +6s to those reaction abilities. The arm strength and accuracy is up 3 apiece. I think you have to be very excited with the development we got after year 1. Vision already in the 80s. I mean, Oliver Davis is ready to be a contact hitter next year on the team. The fielding is still just a long way away, and it's going to make it a tough decision on when we bring Oliver Davis up. I think something that could happen, of course, he has that first base secondary spot. I think the threshold for me being comfortable bringing him up to the major leagues would be lower at the first base spot, and we could start him there with the plan to eventually move him to third as his fielding continues to develop. I think that could be something that could happen as soon as later next year. But we'll have to see kind of how next season goes. But I think you're pretty happy with a 281 average, 16 home run season, an OPS above 800 from the plate. maybe would have hoped for that 20-plus home run season. With this level of power, he wasn't an incredible power hitter, so maybe 20 would have been lofty, but I think it would have been doable. Jason Petit ends up with a 309 average and 5 home runs on the year. Stole 30 bases, which is nice, 56 RBIs, and an 827 OPS. So an OPS higher than Oliver Davis. He also goes up 5 overalls. We see a +6 to contact versus right, +4 against lefties, and it's all the way into the 80s now. Vision also in the 80s. Our 2 rookie hitters, or not technically rookies until you make the major leagues, but you know what I'm talking about. Guys in their first professional season, both now into the 80s for their vision. Clutch into the 70s for this player as well, and got some decent upgrades to his power. Part of that due to the training. Didn't quite get as much fielding pops as I would hope for. The game had him DH for part of the year, which is really annoying because I didn't want him to DH. I need that fielding to improve, so he only gets a +2 to fielding. The reaction goes up a bit more though. The arm and the accuracy goes up a bit as well. So Jason Petit, I think, another player, I mean, when you're getting +5 overall, you got to be happy with that. I think both of these guys should be in play to be at the AAA level next year. The same can definitely be said of Ozzy Ramirez, who ends up 15-5 for the win-loss record. Pretty dang good for a AA team that was pretty successful this year. 171 innings pitched. Not a great strikeout rate, just a 7.16 strikeouts per 9 there. But a pretty decent walks per 9 rate as well. He ends up with a 4.3 WAR. I'll go back and I'll check the WAR of our other players in just a second as well. But you're getting a lot of +3s, +4s, even a +5 K per 9 versus righties there in his per 9 ratings. Control up 3, we wanted that. Clutch up 3, definitely wanted that as well. Let's quickly see what the WAR was. So a 1.7 for Oliver Davis, likely due to the lower fielding percentage, dragging that down a bit. And then with Petit being a DH for part of the year, I think that might lower his, but he still ends up with a 2.2. Next up, you have Rodriguez, who also ends up with 5 home runs on the year, just like Petit. 271 average for him. He's gone up 4 overall. As for his ratings, pretty decent development in the contact area. +5 versus rights and a +8 versus lefties. Vision goes up 3, clutch goes up 2. Not quite as much development in the power, but he does get a +4 against lefties. And the fielding continues to get better for Rodriguez. And another guy that's probably ready for the AAA. So a lot of the guys that led to our AA success this year probably getting the promotion next year. Lawrence Potter definitely exceeds expectation in his first season in the minors. Not a guy with great strikeouts per 9 once more, but really good development. +5 home runs per 9 was very much so needed. +5 hits per 9 versus lefties, also a big upgrade that he really needed. +3s and 4s elsewhere across his per 9 development. Not a guy that's going to throw hard, but definitely a guy that, from the looks of it, is going to sim well. I think he's borderline. He might be AAA next year. I mean, just based off production alone, you probably give it to him, although 67's a little low for guys that I like to consider calling up there. Connor Murray ends up, despite being a 58 overall to start the year, ends up having a very productive season at AA. +5 overall for him. He's definitely going to get another year at the very least in AA, but gets +3 to his clutch, +4 control. That strikeouts per 9 gets some great development. +5 for both. Needed that for sure. And gets some solid development really just across the board for him. So all of our guys, none of our guys in the AA are really had anything decrease, at least that we would expect. You know, starters usually just get their stamina decreased every year. At the AAA, didn't have a ton in the way of B potential prospects here. Liam Doyle was at the AA level for most of the year. Promoted him in August to AAA and didn't do particularly well, though. Ends up just a +2 overall season from him. Thought he earned the chance at AAA, just didn't quite do well enough with it. So had he had a strong AAA season, I think we would have been talking about a spring training invite, but as things currently sit with the struggles at the end of the year, I think we're probably talking about starting next year at the AAA level. What about Ting Kent? Thought about calling him up instead of Saint in September because he's had a pretty strong season at AAA. Just decided to go with maybe the more exciting long-term prospect there, but he's already on the 40-man roster, so he'll be invited to spring training, and I think he's got a good chance to be one of the pitchers that makes the opening day roster. He's got a +3 overall for Ting Kent. Jordan Walker, let's talk about him. +3 overall from him this year, but ultimately not all that productive of a year. Sub 700 OPS. Not making me confident he can make the jump. He has one more option remaining, likely going to be used. And then the other outfielder here is Joshua Baez here. 8 home runs, 273 average. I think certainly could be a guy that we get up to AAA next year, potentially. Though still just a 65 overall on that front. And that is really the report for all the important minor leaguers as their seasons come to a close. And that's going to end the season for the big league squad as well. 56-106 is our final record on the year. Triple-digit losses. If you look at where that puts us in the standings, that is the worst record in the National League for losses behind or ahead, however you want to call it, of the Rockies here. Is it the worst in Major League Baseball? And yes, it is. So the Rockies and the White Sox were close behind us with only 60 wins. There were 3 triple-digit loss teams in baseball this year, and we were the worst among them. We'll go through some team stats here in just a minute, but I want to start with our individual stats. If we go to our Major League roster here, Mason Wynn almost goes for 30 home runs when it's all said and done on the year. A +3 overall, playing well past his listed potential of 85 to start the series. You have to wonder if that's gone up after a season of this caliber. An .819 OPS, 29 homers, 80 runs batted in, 15 stolen bases for Mason Wynn. If you compare that, I mean, nearly doubling his previous career high in home runs. It's actually not his career high in batting average, but it is by quite a wide margin in OPS. And in terms of WAR, a 6.5 WAR season from Mason Wynn, more than doubling what it was just a season ago, which was his previous career high. What a season from Mason Wynn. Of course, going to provide great defense. Just one error on the season for Mason for a 99.9% in terms of fielding percentage. 450 assists, 231 putouts on the year for our stud fielder. Usually once you get to the 99s, you'll see him maybe drop a rating or two in the fielding and in that forward direction, but he kept it. That's how good he was defensively for us this year. Next up, you got J.J. Weatherholt. Ends up his rookie season with 14 home runs on a 270 batting average and 561 at-bats, 56 ribbies, 10 stolen bases, and a 770 OPS. His final WAR total will be a 3.0. That is very respectable for a rookie and a 984 fielding percentage for JJ. Is that enough for him to win Rookie of the Year? We'll find out. Alec Marsh. I mean, for a guy who's just a 73 overall to start the year, you'll take this season for sure. 3.68 ERA, 1.22 WHIP, very respectable numbers. We needed him to be a good pitcher for us, for our pitching to have really any chance this year. And he ends up with a solid 1.9 wins above replacement for the pitchers. I think that is going to be easily the best year, unless some of our players ended the year extremely strong. Yario Rodriguez, one of the best bullpen arms for us this year. Pitched in 89 innings with a 3.74 ERA and a 1.35 WHIP. He gets up to a 75 overall by the end of the year and a positive wins above replacement. Tim Elko, tied for the team lead with Mason Wynn for 29 home runs on the year. He gets a +10 power versus righties year. That is massive. And it's going to make him pretty much guaranteed to keep that first base spot for next year. You got to reward players who came in and did what I asked him when I drafted him in the Rule 5 draft. It was for his power potential, and he showed it off this season. Batting average, not quite maybe as high as you would hope, but contact wasn't the reason we took him. It was the power. Pedro Avila ends up with a pretty high WHIP, but ERA-wise, not horrible in 46 innings pitched. He was our closer for most of the year. Ends up with 34 saves, 8 blown saves, and 2 holds on the year. 8 blown saves is not ideal, for sure. Honestly, 42 save opportunities is more than I would have expected, given how our season went. Santiago Espinal, he is set to be a free agent, and I think he's going to be somebody that we let walk. Just ends up just north of a 600 OPS. Not what we were hoping for from the platooning infielder here. Sandlin, another guy that might be on the outs. 5.71 ERA, 1.59 WHIP. Not great numbers there. That clutch being so high makes me tempted to keep him regardless of that. He's also one of the highest overall bullpen arms. So we'll see, but definitely not impressed. Quinn Matthews, another guy. I mean, I don't know if he's somebody that we can count on being part of the rotation. If we can get an upgrade in the Rule 5 draft, I think you have to consider it. Melendez ends up on the injured list at the end of the year and got a broken forearm here. He's out for the next 1 to 2 months, but of course the season's now over. Ends up with 18 home runs. That's respectable, and a 744 OPS. That's one of the highest on the squads. Didn't get a ton of development in the power due to coming in shy of 20 home runs for one of our players who was also drafted mostly for his power, but he ended up being a little bit more of a contact hitter. The vision, clutch, and discipline, the plate skills aren't quite where you want it to be for somebody who you're hoping to consistently have good averages, but probably another guy who has earned his spot on next year's squad as well. Brian Ramos at times had a very strong season, but ends up ending it pretty cold. I remember at one point, I think at the beginning of August, his OPS was at 780, so it drops a bit. His average was once at 280 down to 256, but 23 home runs, ends up being third on the squad, I believe, this year. So he's still one of our better batters, and that's likely going to have him on the big league squad once more next year. Christian Robinson. Honestly, 240 average, 14 home runs on paper doesn't look all that great, but considering he was a player that I added to the team for his defensive ability and had really low expectations offensively, I think you'll take those numbers, and he's probably, honestly, the best outfielder that we had this season. The outfield did not perform all that well. Christian Robinson ends up increasing 3 overall. Got a lot of development against left-handed pitching this year. Not quite as much against right-handed pitching, where his power actually went down 1. to below 50. But certainly somebody that I would imagine is going to be starting in our outfield once more next year. CJ Culpepper, I mean, an ERA below 5 is one of the better ones on the team, but still, I think this starting pitching rotation, Jackson Wolf, I don't know if there's really a reason we bring him back after this season that he just had. If we can find some better pitchers to put in our rotation in the Rule 5 draft, I'm going to heavily consider it. Leonardo Bernal had that great walk-off homer, but overall on this season ends up not doing all that well. He actually finished the year pretty strong. In the beginning of August, his OPS was at a 511, ends up at a 583. It's just below that Mendoza line, but he got above the Jordan Walker line, which is important, I suppose, but did not really get much development at all against right-handed pitching, and he needed it. I don't think there's really going to be an upgrade available at the catcher spot in the Rule 5 draft. I'll look for it. So his job's not 100% safe, but I just don't think there will be better options. So probably back next year. Yanquiel Fernandez, one of my bigger disappointments on the year. That arm had me rooting for him in a major way, but a 633 OPS, single-digit home runs, in plenty of opportunities, just shy of 500 at-bats. I don't think you can really go into next season counting on him to be a starting outfielder, and the same could be said for Trevor Hauver, who didn't have as many opportunities, but also didn't do great. I mean, his home runs per at-bat aren't bad at all, and actually, he's finished the year pretty strong. I remember him being in the mid-600s. Ends up north of 700 OPS due to some late home runs. Interesting. I think he probably deserves to be back at that. Tim Kentz is, for some reason, on our MLB roster now, so that's interesting. McKendry, not really impressive here, but compared to the rest of our staff, honestly, not all that bad. So Jay-Z, another guy who probably wanted just a little bit more of this year. 674 OPS isn't all that bad, but he was one of the best contact hitters we had, and just north of 253. I don't think that outfield spot at left field is guaranteed to be given to Sajazi for next year. He might be a backup utility man for us next year. Zach Thompson, a 133 whip's one of the best we've got. So shout out to him for that. But a negative WAR pitcher. I honestly don't mind a lot of these ratings though, so I think he's probably back next year with the team. He's not great numbers, but some of the best numbers that we've got, especially comparing him to a guy like Zephyr, who really struggled at control. I think probably contributed to that. Omar Alfonso didn't really do enough to put him over a guy like Leonardo Bernal, I think. Still a sub 600 OPS in his 123 at-bats. Not a great year for Guerrero. Jay Allen, just north of a 600 OPS. His spot's not really secure. I mean, Baez is also, I guess, here on the roster for some reason. And then Jerson Moreno, 3.57 ERA, 1.38 whip. Honestly, pretty good considering he's the lowest overall player on the MLB roster. And compared to the other pitchers, pretty good stuff for Moreno. So he's probably on the next year's squad as well. So I think what I'm looking for heading into the offseason in terms of Rule 5 potential upgrades, I think we could do better in the outfield. And I think pitcher. We're going to be going after some pitching here. And we'll take a look at some team stats now to see just how bad we were in some categories. In terms of batting average, the Cardinals would come in 25th in the major leagues in this category. Scoring runs, we come in at number 28 in baseball behind the other 2 100 loss teams. At least we scored more than those guys, I guess. Overall hits, we are number 24 in baseball with 1370. How about extra base hits, doubles? 23rd with 256. Hey, we ended up being top 10 in baseball when it comes to triples, though, with J.J. Weatherholt being the main contributor there with 9 on the season. Home runs, though, down at 26. I honestly think that's pretty solid, 169 home runs for a Rule 5 draft squad. I was hoping Tim Elko could provide power, but he exceeded my expectations. Mason Wynn just blew past expectations, and then Brian Ramos at 23. I was not expecting to have 3 players north of 20 when this season started, that's for sure. I believe our preseason, the game predicts the home run leader, I think it was at 19 with Yanquiel Fernandez. Terrible pick on the player, and very much so underestimated the top home run getters for the squad was that preseason projection. So 26, obviously still a ton of room to improve from it, but I was really expecting us to be last here. Stealing bases was not our strong suit at all. Only the Blue Jays behind us in this category had 80 on the year, led by Mason Wynn. Dead last in stolen base percentage as well. So we weren't good at getting stolen bases, and we were pretty bad when we tried. So maybe not for a lack of effort on the stolen base front. We just don't have guys that are very talented in that area. Dead last in the league by a pretty wide margin here, 416 base on balls here. And then the Rockies had 30 more than us. And then tied for 27th is all the way up at 500. So we're 84 down from the 3rd worst team in baseball. Definitely something that we're going to have to take a look at if we can find some discipline in the Rule 5 draft. I don't know if there's really going to be much of that available, though. We struck out 1,326 times. That is one of the 5 worst in baseball. Team slugging percentage comes shy of 400, 27th in the league. And, you know, you're seeing the Rockies and the White Sox down here with us in a lot of these areas. These are the 3 worst teams in baseball pretty easily offensively, for sure. And then on base percentage, that comes only above the Rockies, who were below 300 in this area. That is rough on their part. Hey, top 10 in something. We didn't ground into a ton of double plays, but it's probably because we weren't getting on base as much to do so. Defensively here, pretty solid though. Another top 10 category here at limiting errors. You love to see that. That's where guys like Mason Wynn really contribute here. All those innings at that important defensive position with only 1 error. It's going to put you inside the top 10 alongside, hey, once again, we're right by the Rockies in all of these categories. Fielding percentage, we end up coming in just outside the top 10 here. ERA, though, this is where I thought we would really struggle, and we are indeed dead last in baseball, nearly a 5 ERA as a team. That's what I was saying. Anybody below 5, you kind of had to consider it a good season, grading on the curve. I really want this to be an area where we can improve. Is Vinnie Nunes going to be on the big league roster next year? That could certainly help things out. Can we get a couple of nice Rule 5 draft picks to help? Maybe a Tink Hence could be an aid in that area. I mean, we're talking about they're showcasing Alec Marsh with a solid 3.68, and then the next guy they're showcasing here as one of our good ERA players is Evan McKendry at a 4.83. That is ridiculous. .41 total saves, ends up tied for 23rd best in the league this year. .27 blown saves puts us tied with our division rivals and the Cubs for 20th. We allowed the second most hits in baseball. Surprised we weren't dead last year, but that honor will go to the Washington Nationals. Dead last, though, in terms of runs allowed by 14. It looks like it was us and the Nationals in terms of really poor pitching this year. As for home runs, 230 allowed on the season puts us at 28th. The Rangers and once again the Nationals end up allowing 6 more than us to be at the bottom of the league. Dead last in the league in terms of allowing walks, just 1 ahead of the Mets here, but still, you don't love to be last at anything, and we've been last in a few of these categories for pitching. Hey, at least we weren't the worst strikeout team, ending up at 21st in baseball in this category. Alec Marsh is 138, leading us here. And then, of course, the winning percentage, we're going to be dead last in baseball with our 106 loss season. And that is it for the team categories. Not a lot of great things to point to this season, but it's nice to establish the baseline of the things that we definitely need to improve on. And once you establish the baseline, you can really appreciate how much you improve on a year-to-year basis. With the season done now, let's go over some awards. I forgot to show these last year. I was just really not paying much attention to last year, if I'm being honest. So the MVP of the National League is Juan Soto, while Yordan Alvarez wins it over in the AL. Cy Young goes to Zach Wheeler. Saw him on opening day. He ends up with a 2.55 ERA, and then it's Garrett Crochet out in Boston for the American League. Batting title goes to Yandy Diaz this year. Gabriel Moreno just behind him, both 318, and then Machado 317. As for the American League, it's Nick Kurtz, the 318 as well. Reliever goes to Lucas Urseg and Randy Rodriguez for the Giants. Rookie of the Year, wow, not even listed, is J.J. Weatherholt. It's Brock Wilkins, so we're going to miss out on some extra draft capital. I mean, Brock Wilkins pretty good here. 23 home runs, 247 average, 713 OPS. I mean, just, yeah, it's the edge at home run. 23 home runs is certainly good. In fact, it was Melendez who ends up being the highest vote getter in terms of Rookie of the Year. I'm surprised by that. I've got to be honest. Romeo Sinecor wins it, 79 overall, out there playing for the Angels. Hank Aaron Award goes to Ronald Acuna Jr. and Yordan Alvarez here. And then let's just see Gold Glove. Do we have any standout defensive players? Tim Elko ends up third here in this category. And we do get another Gold Glove award for Mason Wynn, his second now in 3 seasons. Also, of course, an All-Star this year. So a great breakout season for a player who was already our best player for Mason Wynn. Bringing home some hardware. And much deserved hardware at that. And that's going to be it. We actually, Fernandez. Really? Maybe that gives him a little bit of leeway. His defensive ratings aren't great. It's really just the arm. That was enough to put him in consideration here for Gold Glove right field. I'll quickly go through these Gold Gloves in the American League as well. Since, this isn't our league, we'll just run through them. And then the Silver Sluggers. I don't think we'll really have many players in consideration here, but shortstop? No, not going to be there. Thought he had a chance with those 29 home runs, but probably just not enough in the way of RBIs because his teammates suck. If it's not him, it's not going to be anybody. And then once again, I'll just quickly go through the same spots in the American League. And that will be how we wrap up this year 2 of Cardinals franchise. Next episode, we'll find out who will win the World Series here in 2027. Chicago Cubs, can they repeat? The Dodgers down in the 4 seed. The Cubs get that first round bye. They're the 1 seed this year, looking to repeat. Will they do it? We'll also get to maybe a potential extension for J.J. Weatherholt. Is it worth trying to lock him up long term while it's still relatively cheap to do so? I think that's certainly in the cards. Mason Wynn, what do we do with his contract? He's only got 1 year after this offseason of arbitration. Do we try to extend that contract off his best season? Got some decisions to make. Some Rule 5 draft picks to select. All coming next episode. I hope you enjoyed this one. If you did, please drop a like. I'll be back soon with more Cardinals franchise, and I'll see you then. Go Redbirds.